Let's talk about the museum.
My favorite subject.
Your favorite the only CEO of the museum. April 11th, 1992, the Midway's decommissioned in San Diego, went up into storage until 2003, and then it was brought down here to the San Diego Aircraft Carrier Museum organization, and it was directed that there was an opportunity to create the USS Midway Museum, which opened in 2004. You came in kind of in that window, as you said, when they were looking for someone to lead this initiative. What was the opportunity that you saw here, and what made you, as you transitioned out of the Navy, to say, I got to go do that? And here we go. We got it's a live environment. So what's going on behind us?
That's the every half hour we have to sound the bells and make the 1MC announcement so all the sailors know what's going on the ship. That's exactly what you just heard.
I'm here with Lieutenant Colonel Willis King. He flew missions off of the USS Midway, 1971?
Correct.
Absolutely incredible. Now he's here as a docent. He's leading people around the ship, talking to them about the history, how important it is. Tell us what it was like to operate on and off this ship.
For me, it was a really interesting mission. I had flown medevac in Vietnam, and I was on my way to my carrier, the USS Iwo Jima, and the Direct Air Support Center says, I have an alpha mission for you. You got to stop and pick up a load before you go home and drop it off on the Midway. Mm-hmm. The Midway welcomed us with open arms and said, please drop your load on the number 1 elevator.
It's an incredible story. So, you ever buzz the tower?
I've done that a couple of times.
Yeah.
So,
thank you.
Anyway.
You know, when I go back to retiring in August of 2003, and I got hired for this in December of 2003, and the ship got here the very next month in January of 2004, I was essentially clueless. And if I would have been aware of the daunting challenges ahead, I probably would have never signed up for the job.
What room are we in? We're in the war room.
You're in TFCC, which stands for Tactical Flag Command Center. This is where the Admiral gets his information from. The watch commander's sitting right where I'm now. The assistant would be sitting over there.
How many ships do you know?
Over 70 plus ships.
70 plus ships?
Well, what it is don't forget you got up to 4 carriers, and you got all the auxiliaries, supply ships, and all the air squadrons are right in back of there.
Did you serve in the Navy?
Yeah.
Where?
I've been all over the world.
On aircraft carriers or destroyers, or what was your
Smaller
job?
ship, destroyers, destroyer escorts, a cruiser, a battleship, and a couple amphibs.
Nice. What was your job?
I did 3 things in the Navy: engineering, aviation, and weapons.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Have a nice one. Enjoy.
The people who had been here in San Diego had watched the 10 years of turmoil to get the ship here. I was on active duty while all that was going on, totally clueless. Showed up, they asked me if I'd like to interview, and me amongst 2 or 3 other people interviewed, and I was fortunate enough to get the job. I am in the process of retiring now at the end of March, and when we announced the job here 20 years later, because of the success of the museum, we had over 500 national applicants, and it was. All I will say is, if I had to compete against the group that we're competing right now, I wouldn't be sitting here interviewing with you. That's all I can say.
What was your vision when you got into the job? You realized what it was. I mean, a lot of it was probably a bit of a blank canvas to figure out what to do with it.
It was very much a blank canvas when we started. We had nothing. If you see anything on this ship, it wasn't here when we started. We had no electricity. We had no water. We had no exhibits. We had 4 airplanes. We didn't even have a way to get on and off the ship. We borrowed a brow from the Navy, and we started slowly. And, oh, by the way, we were $8 million in debt. We had no sources of revenue. We had no staff. But other than that, things were looking up.
It was a good day.
You know, kind of like the colonists when they look across the water at the strongest Navy and the strongest Army in the history of the world, and they don't have an Army or a Navy, and they say, let's give it a try.